Hi, my name is Tiana Karamayas and I'm a Cavoodle puppy coach and breeder for Cavoodle Way and River City puppies. As a coach, my philosophy is simple. A Cavoodle should always complement your lifestyle, not complicate it. And this is the foundation to everything I teach. For almost the past decade, I have been working in the breeding, training, grooming, and veterinary sectors of the small animal industry. I've also been raising Cavoodles for the past 16 years, so I have definitely learned a thing or two about the breed along the way. Now this podcast is all about Cavoodles. Raising Cavoodles, training Cavoodles, grooming Cavoodles, breeding Cavoodles, and how to shape the behavior of a Cavoodle puppy. So, if you're a Cavoodle parent or you are looking at adding a Cavoodle to your family soon, then this podcast is for you. New episodes will be released each Tuesday morning, and you can follow me across all social media under the name @OodleWay for more tips and advice on Cavoodles. Thanks for tuning in. Hello and welcome back to episode 48 of the Cavoodle Coach podcast. My name is Tiana Karamayas and I'm your host and your Cavoodle puppy coach. So in today's episode, I want to talk through what your pre-puppy checklist should look like. And of course, it is centered around your pre-puppy checklist for a Cavoodle puppy. Now, this is obviously very important, very relevant, and hopefully something everyone is doing before they bring their puppy home. I hope you're getting out a piece of paper, a pen, you're gathering the family around, and I hope you're writing out the big, long checklist you need to get through before your puppy comes into your home. And ideally, really this checklist should be completed maybe as soon as you put a deposit on a puppy or even before you put the deposit down, because as I always say, the more time you dedicate to prepping for your puppy, the easier the transition will be, the better behaved your puppy will be, and the better prepped you will be to shape your puppy's behaviors to fit into your lifestyle. Now, it's been a very long time since I properly introduced myself on this podcast and gave you a little bit of a summary of who I am and what I do. And I've been getting a few new listeners lately, and I have a feeling that an episode titled Pre-Puppy Checklist might be something that most new listeners do click into. So I'm going to give a very quick little summary of who I am, what I do, and why that is relevant for this episode. So like I said, my name is Tiana. I am a Cavoodle puppy coach, but I've actually been working within the small animal industry for over a decade now, which feels wild. It's gone so quickly, but it's given me the chance to really get experience in each section of the small animal industry. So I worked in a veterinary clinic, I worked in a grooming salon, I worked as a puppy school trainer. I also started my own boutique breeding business for Cavoodles, and now I do my own training specifically for Cavoodles, focusing on shaping their behavior and really increasing their confidence, because Cavoodles, they are the most beautiful breed. They are obviously my favorite breed in this entire world, but they can be a little bit of a sensitive breed, and the training we do with them really has to be a little bit more focused and specialized compared to the general training that you see at puppy school. And I know this because I've been raising Cavoodles through my breeding for years and years, and I've been able to see that early training that is more specialized for the Cavoodle breed in the way that their brain works and the way that they deal with their emotions really does help the puppy transition into the family really well and not suffer any sort of anxiety, any sort of overexcitement, or an inability to relax. And these are the common issues families face when they are getting a puppy. Their puppy will never settle down. They'll be running around full of energy all the time. They'll be biting, jumping, barking, crying, chewing, digging, having toileting accidents, and all of these different naughty puppy behaviors that we see. We can actually, if we break them down, it's all due to your puppy's emotional well-being and whether or not they're emotionally balanced. And if they're not emotionally balanced, and what I mean by this is if your puppy does not feel calm and focused within the mind, if they are feeling stressed or they are bouncing from thing to thing, they're not really focusing on anything. Maybe they're getting stressed because you're leaving the house. Maybe they're stressed because there's a lot of people around and you've taken them out in public. Whatever the case, when a puppy feels all of these emotions and they're not calm within the mind, that's when their body gets a really big rush of adrenaline. And the way that a puppy will work through that adrenaline is by barking, digging, crying, chewing, having toileting accidents, and doing all the things a family absolutely does not want to see in their puppy. And so I have learnt this through a lot of study over the years on the early development of a puppy's mind. And I've been able to really make some really strong connections between general puppies and the way that they think and the way that their mind develops versus cavoodles, who are, like I said, a special breed, the most beautiful breed for a family, but only if the right training is given when the puppies are young, so that we can teach them to be very well balanced, very calm, able to focus, able to relax, and able to live their life in your home without getting stressed or overexcited or anxious. And so my breeding business, I did that for quite a few years. I bred quite a lot of puppies, and it was such an amazing experience. And throughout my breeding time of cavoodles, I did create my own curriculum program for the puppies. So over 8 weeks with the puppies, I would do specific exercises and training and exposures each day, which would build the puppies' confidence. It would desensitize them to a normal family lifestyle, because these puppies, they were bred in my home. They were literally in my living room, and it was my entire job. So I spent all my time on these puppies, and I created a curriculum program that really puts a puppy so far ahead in their training and really helps the cavoodle transition into your family really, really seamlessly. And so obviously today's topic of the episode, we're talking about a pre-puppy checklist. And obviously, I spent a lot of years giving puppies to families, and I was helping to coach them through how to prepare for their puppy, what to buy for their puppy, what to organize for their puppy, and then how to train their puppy. And so I have a bit of knowledge on this pre-puppy checklist. I'm going to share with you what I truly believe your checklist needs to look like if you are getting a cavoodle. And it's not going to be the same checklist that you are going to see if you Google it. I know you can Google pre-puppy checklist and it'll come up with a bunch of things. That's a general checklist. It's not for cavoodles, and it really is not going to set you and your puppy up for success. So that's a little bit about me. I'm not breeding anymore. I am focusing entirely on my cavoodle puppy coaching. And I have a cavoodle puppy training program that I'll link in the show notes, which I obviously really highly recommend everyone getting a puppy looks into, because it's the only training program out there specifically designed for cavoodles and the way that they think, the way they behave, and the way that we can help encourage them to grow into the best versions of themselves. So let's get started. Pre-puppy checklist. Now, if you Google pre-puppy checklist, or if you just sat down to write your own checklist, probably what it's going to look like is buying a dog bowl, dog toys, dog bed, dog food, dog treats, maybe a collar, harness, lead, maybe getting like a playpen, or maybe even a crate, depending on what you know about puppy training. But your pre-puppy checklist will probably be mainly focused on the the things you can see and touch, the materialistic things, the things you go and buy, the things you need to have in your home to have a puppy. And that's all, obviously, it's important. We do need to make sure we have a bed and a collar and a harness and a lead. We need to make sure they have a water bowl. The dog bowl for the food, you can skip out on that one, because you should never be feeding your dog out of a dog bowl. It should always be a time where you are using their food to train them or using it as an enrichment toy. But these things are obviously very important. But those things, everyone knows those things. And like I said, you can Google it. You can Google it and you can find out what things you need to buy for your puppy to bring home. Of course, there are some certain products that work better, such as using a front-loaded harness is much more beneficial to loose lead walking practice than a back-loaded harness. And having the right kind of toys for your puppy is going to really, it's going to bring out those natural, we call it, so every puppy was born for a specific purpose, every breed of dog. And so we want to make sure the type of toys we provide to the puppy actually goes back to that original breed purpose and lets the puppy exert these natural instincts with their toys. Because if they don't do it with their toys, they can do it with things they shouldn't be touching in your home. And a really easy way to understand this is you can look at a border collie. They are originally bred as a herding dog. They would go onto farms and they would herd the sheep, the cattle. And so we want to make sure that when we are buying toys for the puppies and when we are organizing play and enrichment for the puppies, we are obviously keeping in mind that they have this natural instinct and natural desire to herd different things in the house. And so we need to make sure we are providing enough enrichment items and toys for the puppy to have them expel this desire. Otherwise, you'll find your border collie herding your children, which herding, not, this sounds the same, herding, herding, not hurting. We don't want to hurt the children, but they will try and herd your children like they would for sheep and cattle. And so, yes, when it comes to buying items for your puppies and for cavoodles, there are items that are much, much better for the breed. There were things that you should be spending your money on and investing your money on versus things that are a waste of your money. I'm not going to get into that right now, but if you do join my Cavoodle puppy training program, I do tell you exactly what you need with the brands for your cavoodle. But let's get into the things on your pre-puppy checklist that you're not going to really find when you Google, and it's probably not going to be the top of your mind when you're getting a puppy. So the first thing we have to understand is if you are getting a puppy, and if you haven't had a puppy maybe in a lot of years, or it's your first puppy, the first thing we need to make sure is that you are getting into the right mindset. Because if you have the right mindset, you'll go into making all these decisions for your puppy and preparing your checklist in a different way than you would go about doing it if you're not in the right mindset. And the difference in mindsets are a very typical mindset that we have seen in the past, and it's definitely changing within society, which is amazing. But in the past, the mindsets we'd see is people would make sort of an in the spur of the moment decision to get a puppy, and they'll just go and they'll decide to get the puppy. So they're picking it up on Sunday. It's Friday. So on Saturday, they go to the shops. They go to the pet shop, they buy all these little bits and pieces, and then Sunday they go get their puppy and they bring it home. And it's a type of mindset where it's possibly more focused on the cuteness factor of a puppy and wanting to get a puppy, maybe with the overarching desire to have a best friend, because obviously dogs are a man's best friend and they really can be. But there possibly usually isn't as much education around what your breed is, what behaviors are natural and common to the breed, and how to actually go about stopping those behaviors or making sure they do happen, depending on whether it's a good behavior or a bad behavior. That's the mindset that a lot of people have had, especially if they've never had a puppy before, or possibly even 20, 30 years ago when dogs were less of a household family member and they were more an outdoor dog who stays outside, and there's that disconnection between the dog and the family. Nowadays, of course, and I love this, most families are getting a dog, they're getting a puppy with the intention of the puppy literally being a family member. And for cavoodles, people get these cavoodles with the intention of the puppy to be in their home and involved in all of their lifestyle. Like, for example, I call my my cavoodles, they're like my children. I love them like I would for children, and we obsess over them, talk about them all day, every day, and I want to take them everywhere in my life. So there's a really special bond that I'm looking to form with my cavoodles now. So that was the mindset that people tended to have in the past. There was a disconnection between the dog and the family members, and so it was more of an in the spur of a moment decision to get a dog. Not all the time, but a lot of the time it was. And the pre-puppy checklist back then was just those materialistic things: dog bag, dog bowl, dog food, treats, and maybe some toys. Nowadays, though, there is more education coming about, and this is through some really good breeders who are spreading their knowledge on puppies and the different breeds and the different behaviors and traits of these breeds and how they will play out within a family. And so families are starting to learn about all these different traits, and they're starting to take some more care into choosing which breed is going to better suit their family, which is absolutely amazing. But we even need to go a step further than this, because it's all well and good to do your research into finding what sort of breed will best suit your lifestyle. That's all well and good. It's very important to do. But we have to take it a step further, because when it comes to the pre-puppy checklist, what's going to make the biggest difference for you as a family when you're bringing a puppy home is how prepared you are before the puppy comes home and how much learning you do before they come home. And what this learning looks like, it's, yes, we'll go buy all the materialistic things so that we have, items in the house for the dog: the collar, the lead, the bed, the harness. But we also need to start educating the family and the family members. We need to start having some conversations. We have to go, okay, we're bringing home a puppy. A puppy is obviously like a baby, a toddler. They're learning, and they're going to be doing all these behaviors, and we have to know how to encourage certain behaviors or discourage other behaviors. And how are we going to make this a good, well-behaved dog? Because every puppy can learn how to sit, lie down, and stay. And in fact, as a trainer, I can tell you that most puppies can learn to sit, lie down, and stay within a few minutes. It really doesn't take long. Any puppy can do those things, but the ability to sit down, to lie down, and to stay is not going to give you a well-behaved dog, because you can tell your puppy to sit and they'll sit for 10, 20 seconds, and then you can tell them to lie down for 10, 20 seconds, and then you can tell them to stay for 10, 20 seconds, and that's 1 minute of the day. But suddenly we have a puppy who's in our home for 24 hours of the day, and we want them to be doing the right behaviors in the times outside of when we're telling them to sit, lie down, and stay. We can't constantly be telling our puppy these things. Instead, we have to have trust and faith in the puppy to choose the right things, to choose their toys to play with and not to chew our furniture, to come and sit at our feet for attention rather than jump over our legs, to walk and calmly wait at the door rather than barking at all your visitors and jumping all over them. These are the behaviors we need our puppies to display. That's what actually makes them a well-behaved, easy, good dog, not the ability is to sit, lie down, and stay. And so when you are bringing a puppy home, your pre-puppy checklist needs to include choosing what training avenue you're going to go down. Are you doing in-person training? Are you doing online training? Are you doing training that's general, like puppy school? Or are you going to do training that's specific to the breed you are getting, which is the Cavoodle? Are you going to work one-on-one with a trainer? Or do you rather group settings? All of these things are really important. And as a family, you have to be deciding on which training avenue is best for you and your family and your new Cavoodle puppy before you bring your puppy home. And as a matter of fact, when you bring your puppy home, they are going to be around 8 weeks of age, and they are going to be in something called their critical socialization period. And this period of development is the most influential period of development your puppy will ever be in. It goes from 3 weeks of age up until about 12 weeks of age for a puppy. And during this time, your puppy is deciding what their perceptions are of the things in the world. So what their perception is and what their thoughts are over the doggy door, being around people, new items in the house, loud bangs, what they think people are like. Are they going to be scared, nervous, happy, comfortable? They are literally deciding their perceptions of the world. And during this time, we have to, as the family, be making the conscious decision to teach them to be calm, happy, and comfortable with every aspect of our lifestyle. Because if we don't do this during their critical socialization period, what happens is a puppy leaves that period of growth and they go into the next period of growth. But now suddenly they have matured in the mind, and now they have all of these ideas on the world, and they can have low confidence, and they can have this belief that anything new that they see is scary. And if they have this belief that new things are scary, or things they've seen in the past are scary, like doggy doors or loud bangs or people, then what happens is your puppy starts to have a physiological response. So their heart rate increases, they feel anxious, they feel stressed, or they feel overexcited, depending on whatever it is. And then, like I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, when they have all of these intense emotions, they then get the adrenaline rushes, and then to work through the adrenaline rushes, your puppy starts to bark, and they start to jump, and they start to dig, and they start to chew, and they start to have toileting accidents on the ground. They are unable to lie down and relax, and they constantly are go, 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 and as a family, you start pulling out your hair, you start regretting your decision to get a puppy because it's so hard, and your puppy is so naughty. But really, they're not a naughty puppy. It's that they weren't properly exposed and socialized and desensitized to the things in your lifestyle while they were in that critical socialization period, which is the most influential period of growth and development a puppy will ever be in. And again, that's from 3 weeks of age up until 12 weeks of age. And when you bring your puppy home at 8 weeks, you have 4 weeks left in this critical socialization period to really use it to to influence your puppy's ideas on the world and really be comfortable with everything in your lifestyle. So as a family, on your pre-puppy checklist, it has to involve learning things like this. It has to involve learning how to properly socialize your puppy, how to properly expose them to new things for the first time, how to keep them calm, how to recognize when they're starting to get stressed or anxious or overexcited, how to then calm them down, how to build their confidence, how to make them comfortable with everything in your lifestyle. And remember, we have to know this before the puppy comes home, because when your puppy comes home, the first time they see you, the first time they see your house, the first time the kids laugh out loud or scream and frighten the puppy, your puppy is immediately taking that first experience of all these new things, putting it away in the filing system in their brain, making a decision over whether it's scary, safe, or happy and comfortable. And then they're going to, the next time they are presented with that scenario, the next time the kids scream, or the next time the doggy door goes open and closed, next time the blender goes on, next time, the car gets turned on, your puppy is going to already have this experience with those items or those situations, and they're going to react in the same way. And they're going to go, oh, every time the car goes on, and we hear that engine, it's scary and I am going to freak out. And then they're going to have the rush of adrenaline, the heightened emotions, and it's going to be a lot harder for you as a family to go, hang on, puppy, the car's actually a safe place. And then to twist that around and turn it around to be a positive experience. So the first time your puppy experiences things in their critical socialization period is what they learn is the right way to respond to those things. So we have to make sure as a family that you understand this before your puppy comes home, so that the second they walk through your front door, you can make sure that every experience is positive, that you can recognize if your puppy is feeling nervous or uncomfortable. You know exactly how to help them feel comfortable, to make them feel safe and loved and secure. And you can make sure you are ensuring that every experience your puppy has with all the elements of your lifestyle, it's really, really positive. And in addition to this, we also have to know as a family, before the puppy comes home, okay, across the board, how are we going to respond to the puppy when it cries? How are we going to respond to the puppy when it barks? How are we going to respond to the puppy when it jumps? Because as a family unit, it is essential that every single family member, including kids, responds in the same way. Because if we respond differently to the puppy, this is miscommunication. It's confusing for the puppy. And when the puppy gets confused, guess what happens? The puppy gets frustrated. The puppy gets overwhelmed. These are intense emotions. And when a puppy feels intense emotions, what happens? They get the adrenaline rush. And then they start to bark and cry and have toileting accidents. And suddenly the family will get angry and go, I just told you not to bark. And the puppy barks more. But it's not because the puppy is doing it in defiance to you. It's because you've made them feel stressed and confused because everyone's telling them something different. And so they're barking more as a natural reaction to these intense emotions inside of them. So as a family, everyone needs to be very clear and on the same page on how to respond to the puppy and shape their puppy's behaviors to meet whatever idea you have in your head. So all of this learning is so essential to getting a puppy. And the worst thing you can do as a family is decide to get a puppy, buy all the physical things, the bed, the toys, the food, and then bring the puppy home, spend a few days with them, maybe a week or so, and then decide it's time to start training. That is the worst thing you can do for your puppy. Not only have you missed out on 1 week of the critical socialization period, but in that 1 week, your puppy is being exposed to all these things and you're not controlling the environment and making sure it's positive. You're also not ensuring there's consistency across the board with each family member when your puppy responds in certain ways. And you're also not starting that training. And the reality is with Cavoodles is that if you don't know, they are a breed that can be very prone to anxiety. And what anxiety looks like for Cavoodles is an inability to be left alone, but then an inability to go out in public because they get really stressed when they're in social situations. And this completely restricts the family and chains them to the dog. And if you are not doing the right training in the first week with your puppy, because this is the time when we teach a puppy to be confident on their own and to be able to be left alone in your house without you constantly having to be there. If you're not doing this, a puppy, a Cavoodle, in that 1 week can develop severe separation anxiety, and you'll find yourself unable to leave the house, unable to leave the room without your puppy crying, or without your puppy starting to bark or chew or dig or have toileting accidents as a result of this intense emotion of anxiety that has built inside of them. So we can't wait to do the training for the puppy. The training for your puppy starts the second they walk through your front door, and the training is not sit down, stay. The training is shaping their behaviors, showing them what's right and wrong within your home, and making sure they have positive associations with everything in your lifestyle. So your pre-puppy checklist as a family has to include education, learning, and pretty much an entire training course on the behavior of cavoodles and how to actually train a puppy to be well behaved and comfortable within your lifestyle, so that when they walk through your front door, you can make sure you do everything right in the first place. And the benefit of doing this is at this age, between 3 to 12 weeks of age, when your puppy is in their critical socialization period, they learn extremely quickly. It only takes a few minutes to teach a puppy something new. It only takes a few minutes to show them the right behaviors versus the wrong behaviors. And so if you spend the time as a family to make sure you've properly prepared yourselves and learnt about puppy body language, understanding what the training requirements are, deciding as a family how we're going to respond when puppies do all their puppy behaviors, like barking or jumping or chewing or whatever it is. If you do this, your puppy will come home and you can have a puppy who is choosing the right decisions within your house, who is choosing their toys to chew on versus your furniture, a puppy who's toilet trained within just a few short weeks, a puppy who sleeps all night long without waking, without crying, a puppy who can be left alone for 4+ hours and be completely comfortable, a puppy who can go out in public and they're calm and relaxed rather than pulling on the lead or barking at everyone they see, and a puppy who can be at home in your house and be calm, focused, and not have excessive energy, never relaxing, jumping on you, biting your toes, pulling your hair, barking at you for attention, and doing everything we don't want to see in a puppy. So if you do all of your preparation correctly and your pre-puppy checklist actually involves learning about cavoodles, learning about their body language, learning about how to properly socialize them and desensitize them and ensure every first experience they have is positive, you will have the most well-behaved, easy cavoodle within a very short period of time. Now, if you're sitting here and you're wondering, Tiana, how short of a period of time do I have to wait until my puppy is well-behaved and really good? I am here to tell you that if you do the right preparation work and training work and you kick things off with your training the second your puppy comes home and you have a plan for every day, each hour of the day, what you're doing with your puppy to properly tick off all their needs. So they're socializing, they're training, they're desensitizing, their enrichment, their confidence building, they're exposing to everything in your lifestyle. If you know exactly what you're doing and the whole family follows the same plan and you are all responding and shaping your puppy's behaviors in the same way, which creates consistency, which allows a puppy to learn very quickly, you can have a very well-behaved puppy within 1 month. You can have a puppy sleeping through the night from night 2. You can have a fully toilet trained puppy within 4 weeks. You can have a puppy who is calm and relaxed when people come over within 1 week. These things are all very, very possible for cavoodle puppies because they are very, very smart. They have a brain that is eager to learn. We just have to make sure as a family that we are very clear in telling them what's right and wrong, and we are very clearly communicating to them what's safe, what's not safe, how to feel in every situation in our lifestyle. And if we do this, a puppy will follow your direction because they want to listen to you, they want to make you happy, and you'll have the most harmonious lifestyle with your puppy. The good news is, and again, I mentioned this in the beginning of the episode, but I do have a Cavoodle puppy training program. And this puppy training program essentially focuses on the critical socialization period for puppies. So it is a 28-day training program to take you through the first month with your puppy. So it includes 28 daily training schedules for a cavoodle. It's the exact training schedules I use on my own puppies. It tells you what to do each hour of the day to teach your puppy to be comfortable when left alone, to teach the puppy how to sleep through the night straight away, to teach the puppy how to stay calm and relaxed when they are out in public or when you have people visit them at their house. It teaches your puppy how to focus when you are training them, how to respond really well. And it teaches your puppy how to stay calm and relaxed and to not resort to all of those naughty puppy behaviors when they are bored or they are confused or they're attention seeking. Instead, we teach the puppy to do the behaviors we want them to see, like sitting at our feet for attention rather than barking at us for attention. And this training program is something I am so proud of, because it's the only training program out there that is specifically designed for cavoodles. And what separates it from your standard puppy school to this program is the fact that it's created by a breeder. And this is all based around the early development of a puppy's brain and how we can influence it as a family to shape the puppy's behavior to fit into our lifestyle. It's not about just teaching them the perfect sit, lie down and stay. Instead, it's about teaching our puppy how to behave within our home, within our life, in a way that we want them to. It's all focused about building your puppy's confidence, decreasing their anxiety, and making sure they don't experience all those intense emotions that makes them have those adrenaline rushes, which makes them behave in naughty ways. So this program is available to anyone getting a Cavoodle puppy. It has 4 weeks of daily training schedules once you bring your puppy home, but the golden part of the program is the part of the program that happens before you bring your puppy home. There is an entire module dedicated to preparing for your Cavoodle puppy and teaching the family what to expect. So that module covers everything I've been talking about in this episode. It is so important that a family learns all of this information and makes their plan for their puppy before the puppy comes home, so they can get started with the training and the behavior shaping as soon as the puppy walks through the door. So I always recommend to families to join my Cavoodle puppy training program as far in advance before bringing their puppy home as possible, to give yourself adequate time to work through the Cavoodle preparation module, and then to even look ahead and start watching all of the training videos for the first 28 days, so that rather than scrambling around when your puppy is there, you know how to do the training exercises and you can just kick it off straight away with going into the behavior shaping and the training without any hiccups. So if you're getting a Cavoodle puppy this year, and you're starting to think about what you need to do, the answer is you need to do my program, because it will prepare you for your Cavoodle puppy. It's for the Cavoodle breed, and it is the one thing that's going to ensure that your puppy gets into the perfect routine as soon as they come home, and we can get them trained within a few short weeks. So that program is in the show notes. I absolutely would love to see you in there. You have access to the entire program for 365 days. So you can join months in advance before your puppy comes home. And that way you can make sure the whole family works through the Cavoodle preparation module. And then when your puppy comes home, everyone's on the same page about training. So that's in the show notes. I would absolutely love to see you there. And if you haven't already, you can go onto my Instagram. And my Instagram handle is @oodleway or @Tiana Karamais. And if you go on there, you can see all of these different reviews from families who have been in the program and their testimonials and the experience they've had. I've had lots of families come through and I love to share what they think so that you can have a more informed decision on what to expect in the program. So you can go onto there and you can listen to the testimonials and reviews. There's a highlight in my stories. Otherwise, scroll through my feed. And if you have any questions about the program, please feel free to DM me on Instagram or send me an email, hello@oodleway.co. I'm happy to answer any questions, and then hopefully I get to welcome you into the program soon. Okay, I believe that's all I have to say about this pre-puppy checklist. It's not about the physical items, that stuff's important, but it's more about making sure you get the family ready and on the same page about training before you bring the Cavoodle puppy home. Okay, that's all for this episode. I will see you next week. This has been your Cavoodle coach, Tiana Karamais. I'll see you later. Bye.